This is the original esports.
Hello one and all, welcome to RaceSpotTV, welcome to 60 Plus Racing Adventures. This is the first round of Season 11. 60 Plus Racing Adventures is a iRacing league for drivers of 60 years of age or older. And of course, it shows that age is no limit in sim racing. These ladies and gentlemen, mostly gentlemen, put on some fantastic racing. We've got 2 races here at Okayama International Circuit coming up today. Of course, here's a look at the layout of this Japanese circuit. Hosted Formula 1 racing for 2 years now, home to a little bit more Japanese domestic racing, a little bit of iRacing as well, very popular here. This is one of the base pieces of content, so very popular. See the weather there, track temperatures pretty hot, 38 degrees Celsius. And joining me today for this broadcast, I'm David Haynes. It's going to be Paul Smith alongside me as well. Paul, we always look forward to 60 Plus Racing Adventures, and I love this league, and I do enjoy the racing they put on as well.
Yeah, hello everybody. It's going to be fantastic racing as usual in this championship. The Star Mazda that they use always produces fantastic, exciting action. And Season 11, it's going to be an absolute thriller. 12 weeks, of course, that they've run this series. We only broadcast 3 of them, starting with this one, the opening round here at Okayama International Circuit. Then the series heads off to Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Phillip Island, that's always a good one. Nürburgring Nordschleife, they're going through and around. And then the week after, week 6, we're going to be broadcasting live from Suzuka International Raceway. Then it's on to Spa-Francorchamps, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Silverstone circuit, the new Silverstone onto iRacing on this build. Lime Rock Park, the Autodromo Nacional Monza, and then the final round, as always, we producing that on the broadcast live from Road America. It promises to be a really, really exciting season.
Yeah, exactly. This series goes from strength to strength. We've got 32 drivers for this race, and that is a very, very strong grid. Potentially breaking some records there. Qualifying's underway right now for race number 1, and I think that's Manning Grinnen you see on your screen right now, currently sitting in 4th position. At the top of the order though, it's Paul Stump, then Leif Hellberg, Bill Lawrence holding out 3rd spot, and Manning Grinnen has completed the 2 laps allowed in qualifying, but using a little bit of time here just to feel out the weather conditions, get a little bit more practice. And you can see the remainder of your top 12 on the left hand column as well. 2.5 minutes left. Most drivers have used up their 2 allowed laps before we get into race 1, and we'll have another qualifying session before race 2. And if you're not familiar with 60 Plus Racing Adventures, they have an interesting race weekend sort of format, as you could call it. We have 2 races, but the points that are carried through into the championship is your best result of the 2 races. So if your first race is a little bit disappointing, need not fear, because race 2 is a fresh start, fresh qualifying, and if you put a good result in there, that's the one that will count. Sort of a best of 2 format.
Yeah, we've seen it on the broadcasts that we have brought to you here on RaceSpotTV, how that race format really does bring out fantastic racing and action, because these drivers, if they do, as you mentioned, have not the best first race, they come out fighting in that second race, and it's great to see them on a bit of a charge. So certainly it's always thrilling, and it's a great format. I think it's a great way of keeping a championship really alive and keeping it to the end of the series. So certainly it's great to be back with this series, especially after the exciting races that we had last time at the season finale at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, indeed. I think around here the slipstream won't be quite as ridiculous as it was at Spa. But no doubt in cars like these, the Star Mazda or Pro Mazda, whatever you want to call them, the slipstream plays an effect, and I think the two places that will matter is on the pit straight, but then also the back straight into the hairpin, which is the fastest speed straight and the hardest braking zone into the slowest corner, basically. So expect to see some passing there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a track map for anyone who doesn't know the track. And that back straight, that is the best opportunity for a slipstream. So you'll see overtaking going into the hard braking zone of that hairpin, and certainly gives people that opportunity to really give it a go. In fact, I'm going to break out. You know what I'm going to break out. So that right there is the prime overtaking spot. It's not the best circle, I must admit, but that is the prime opportunity into that hairpin, into turn one as well, into the first corner. That's a good opportunity as well. But I believe qualifying is over, so let's go through your starting grid.
Yep, hasn't changed massively since we had a little peek at it earlier. At the top and pole position for race 1 is still Paul Stump. Second place is going to be Leif Hellberg. Third place is going to be Bill Lawrence. And fourth is Manning Grinnan. Fifth place is John Unsby. Sixth is Mark Robertson. Seventh belongs to Kenneth Baldwin. And eighth place is Jos van der Ven. Ninth is Bruce Poole. 10th is Greg Garris. 11th place is going to be John Morgan. And 12th is going to be Richard Coulomb. 13th place is Remigio de Pasqua. 14th is Bob Kern. 15th Joel Martin. And 16th place belongs to France Brink. We'll have a look down to 20th. 17th is Louis Cannell. 18th Bruce Granheim. 19th Gerard Florison. 20th is David Riley. Paul, do you want to look at the remainder?
Yeah, Gianni Raspaldo 21st with PJ Sally 22nd, Ralph Camera 23rd, Matt Lisson, look at that, 2 seconds off the pole position to head in 24th, Paolo Bonacera, Ronald McManus, William Olsby, and William H. Lee rounded out 28, and we've still got more cars to go. 29th, Paul Hopkins, Urs Muller in 30th place with Stephen Cartner. No time from Stephen. He's usually one of our front runners here. Richard Ross rounding out your 32. Get that? That's right. 32 car grid.
And you know, there's one name that's missing from that list, and I don't see Stefan Rostjen here today for race 1. So, defending champion not making an appearance at the first round. That probably won't stop him. He's very, very good in these cars and in this series. It's going to be a rolling start for race 1 in that Porsche safety car. Pull into the pit entry, which is to the right hand side here before they go down the hill. Great point to talk about the fact that we don't expect to see any pit stops this race aside from damage or repairs. So Paul Stump and Leif Hellberg, the front row, will lead into a green flag and we'll get racing for 21 laps now. A little bit of a check-up at the front there. I think our leader went and then didn't get the green flag immediately. A little bit of confusion there. So down the order goes Leif Hellberg, but Paul Stump still holding on to first place. Leif Hellberg was in second, but tried to jump on the leader, Paul Stump. So that's the confusion at the start. Luckily, no contact smoothly through Moss S and towards Atwood Curve for the first time.
Yeah, really good start from everybody here. Everybody behaving. We've got a little bit of side-by-side action, but they're all sorting themselves out. And then this is that back straight that we were talking about earlier on, where you've got the best opportunity for a slipstream down here. Everybody though, I think everybody's just trying to get into the swing of things, trying to get used to the car again after the latest iRacing build, and they're all battling away around through the grid here.
Relatively clean and considerate on the first lap. I like that. Looking at 13th place Remigio de Pasqua, who has John Morgan in front of him. The two battle through what's the tightest, twistiest section of the circuit here. The hairpins keep coming in this part of the track, and someone has gone around there. That's Mark Lisson.
Yeah, Matt Lisson. Around he goes. We'll get a replay here up on screen, and it's going to be a self-spin, this one. And yep, just carried a little bit too much speed into that corner. Goes behind the mound there. That's not ideal for us. But yeah, back up and away, and he's down in 28th position. Your leader is pulling away already.
Thankfully, it didn't look like too much damage for Mark Lasson there. I think he'll carry on. Indeed, Paul Stump pulls 7 seconds over Bill Lawrence. And Leif Hellberg, who is in this black and white car here, started on the front row and almost jumped the start a little bit, had to check up, is back into 3rd place. And 4th is a little bit further back, John Unsby, always in the yellow and black car, just so we know it's him. In fact, he's going to have a bit of a battle on his hand as well. So the lead, I'm not sure that's going to change, but Mark Robertson and Jos van der Ven are battling over 5th and 6th. All of the rivalries, all of the battles we've seen in previous seasons, I think are well and truly alive again in Season 11.
Yeah, absolutely great to see, and these drivers, they're pushing hard. Oh, you see Manning grinning, having to just take a little bit of a different line there. Able to stay ahead and loses control. Around he goes, and he's going to have to wait for everybody to go past here.
That's very, very tough for Manning Grinner. Just a little bit too optimistic, I think. Coming into that hairpin. Has to find reverse gear because on the inside of the corner, nowhere to go. Riding on board. Here's the replay. Just asking a little bit too much of the rear tyres. It's a slow corner. There's no downforce. And those Goodyear Eagle tyres have just given up at the rear.
And we're gonna
hot track temperatures we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, we're staying on replay because David Riley's gone off into the wall. There was a little bit of an incident in front of him as well, and I believe John Morgan was one of those, and yep, he's headed into the pit road. We'll have a look at this one from John's point of view. Oh, he gets hit from behind there. Around he goes, but he's back up and running. He's down in pit road. He's had his free fast repair, and he's back up and running. But your lead battle now, look at this.
So Bill Lawrence goes down the inside of Paul Stump at the hairpin. Leif Hellberg will try and follow through. They're side by side for second now. Paul Stump in the sort of mint coloured, almost toothpaste coloured car there. So from pole position back into second, but did just manage to fend off Leif Hellberg. So Bill Lawrence up from 3rd into 1st in the opening laps of race 1. I think Leif Hellberg is looking pretty racy as well, wants a part of it, but the battling we saw for them means that the top 3 is no longer a breakaway. They've got John Unsby right behind, as you can see in this exterior shot. It's John Unsby in 4th, getting a good run out of the final corner as well.
Yeah, down the start finish straight. You can use the slipstream to your advantage, but it's because it's a medium sort of speed corner on the exit. That final corner is not really the opportunity to get a move done. But we have had another incident, and it's Greg Garris has been off. He's getting back up to speed here. We'll try and find out what's happened here, and I do believe it's going to be a self-spin here.
So into turn 1. And again, just a little bit too much steering input maybe. The rear just starts to slide through the middle of the corner. He couldn't correct it enough. Pretty similar to what we saw Manning Grinnan do. Here comes John Unsby on Leif Hellberg though. This is for the final spot on the podium. John Unsby not quite clear because the next corner is in the opposite direction. Almost contact there. I don't know quite how they got away with this. This is 3 corners side by side, and then there's a little tap, but John Unsby holds on to it. Leif Hellberg loses a spot, and now Mark Robertson is to the inside, and Robertson and Hellberg side by side. Robertson has it. Horror little run here for Hellberg.
Yeah, Hellberg does have a little bit of damage to the front wing now. From that little bit of contact, that wing-to-wheel contact, but he's back up and running. He's running wide through the final corner, but there it is. There's the damage to the front wing. It's not ideal, and he gets into the back of Robertson. Robertson with the slide. Oh, and he gets collected.
Huge drama into turn 1 there. That one will surely deserve a replay. Contact between Hellberg and Robertson. I think Hellberg has missed the braking zone, and then it's all gone from there because that sends Robertson around. Huge slide, and then gets collected there by didn't catch who that red car was. That was a big incident for a lot of cars in your top 10.
Yes.
Kenneth Baldwin, was it?
Yeah, Kenneth Baldwin in, and there's not a lot that Kenneth can do here, to be fair to him. He comes around turn 1, he sees the car sliding off, so he thinks, oh, it's going that way? No, it's not, it's too late. So very little that Kenneth could do there, but he has got front wing damage as well from that, hardly surprising, I know. But he is still in 7th place at the moment for the time being, but already the gloves are off in this series.
Yeah, indeed. And Leif Hellberg getting involved in a few things like that. Holds on to 3rd position, but has... Sorry, maybe it's 4th, but has Jos van der Ven behind, queuing up, looking for an opportunity. Jos van der Ven is a former champion in this series as well, so can be very, very quick when he has a good day, and he's looking good right now, just following along behind Hellberg and trying to find an opportunity. But the best way to do this is to follow closely here, get a good run through the right-hander up the hill of Atwood Curve, but he goes to the inside before, and once again they get close, but it compromises the run up the hill for Jos van der Ven. He'll slot right into the slipstream and maybe have another go at the hairpin. Hellberg goes to the right-hand side, wants to defend a little, and the opportunity now presents for van der Ven, who decides against it. Will stay behind Leif Hellberg, but Bruce Poole is the car behind there now in 6th place. So 4th, 5th, 6th, great little battle here.
Yeah, absolutely. And van der Ven, I think he just found out that really you don't make the move into that hairpin at the start at the bottom of the hill, because as you saw there, it compromises your speed through that straight. So you stay behind while you can, and then make the move into the hairpin at the end of the long back straight. So that's what you need to do around this track, and he's found that out the hard way. Although Jos is a former race winner here in this around this track, so he knows how to pedal it and do a good job as well.
There's a great battle further behind these guys as well, with Remigio De Pasqua and Richard Coulomb. So there's something for everyone in this series, and you see that here. De Pasqua, Coulomb, Baldwin, Kern, 4 cars involved in a battle from 7th on down. It's the kind of thing we see where the slipstream can form up some little battle packs, and you can see on screen your top 8 right now.
Yeah, so Lawrence out front, 1.2 seconds ahead of Paul Stump. John Unsby in 3rd place. He's looking really good for that 3rd as well, ahead of John Unsby, ahead of Leif Hellberg, should I say. Although those two are battling, Hellberg and Jos van der Ven, and van der Ven has made his way past. So using that slipstream, he's learnt and he's got himself through. Bruce Poole is right behind them as well. Regis De Pasqua, as you mentioned, and Richard Coulomb rounding out your top 8. As Kenneth Baldwin, he's had a nightmare of a race here, and he's been involved in an incident here.
Into the hairpin, he tries to go around the outside, and then the next left-hander, they get very close there, and I think there might have been the teeniest bit of contact, or he just got squeezed onto the tighter line, and that sent him around, and Kenneth Baldwin has decided that's that, I need a new front wing, or maybe it's a retirement. Regardless, that car's gone onto the tow truck, and we don't know if we're going to see Kenneth Baldwin out again.
But what that does mean, that he does, the beauty of this championship, he does get enough opportunity to get points for the start of this championship. So all is not lost. He may not do well in this first race along with a few others, but he's got that opportunity in the second race, because of course, as we mentioned at the start of the broadcast, it's your best result from the 2 races that gets taken into the championship. So all is not lost yet.
You know who's flying along right now? Manning Grinnan in 18th place has just set the fastest lap of the race. We saw him go for that spin earlier and lose a lot of positions, lose a lot of time. But Manning Grinnan has not given up, head down, and plenty of cars ahead to try and make a move on. It's side by side with, I think it's Lewis Cannell right now.
Yeah.
And Manning Grinnan is going to get ahead and then try and line up the likes of Wally Molesby and PJ Selly. Manning Grinnan, despite losing a lot of time early on, has not given up, and this is like an arcade video game.
Yeah, it's almost like he's doing the rear to front challenge right here, as he's just biding his time, puts the pressure on Wally Molesby, Not able to make the move into that hairpin. Get the run out of this hairpin though. Carry the speed. He's descended just for the time being. Playing it safe. Playing the sensible game. Waiting for his opportunity. We're only on lap 9. So plenty of time left. And look at the speed that he's able to carry out that final corner. Down the straight. Wally Moulsby with damage to his front wing. So he is carrying that damage there. That will be affecting his top speed. And Moulsby ended up into the side, touching wheels. I'll be amazed if that doesn't damage his suspension.
Yeah, he's definitely made the car jump in the air a little bit, so we'll see it on board from Moulsby's perspective. From off board, it really looked like he turned into Manning Grinnan just a little bit. Grinnan is right there. Well, it's tough to say. I think that's just close racing. I'm not going to blame Wally Moulsby too much for that. I think maybe could have given a little bit more room. We saw from the onboard earlier that I think Manning Grinnan favours a later turn in, and that might have caught out Wally Moulsby.
Yes, we've seen Bob Kern just running slow, so we'll try and find out what's happened here to Bob into the hairpin. Is that Stephen Cartner that he was around? Oh yeah, they're just really slow out the corner there. That was a really bizarre one. But Bob Kern's back ahead now. He's back into 9th place. So all is not lost for him. So a little bit of changing of paces. And in fact, Stephen Cartner is heading down onto pit road.
Yeah, indeed, going quite slow through the pit entry as well.
At the front. This is Leif Hellberg, David.
So Jos van der Ven, Leif Hellberg here. And what does Leif Hellberg do? He missed his braking zone into turn 1 earlier. This time he has a slide and car behind, nowhere to go in that one. It was Bruce Poole, I believe, may have gotten away with it a little bit more than Leif Hellberg did.
Yeah, Leif Hellberg taking the turn back to the pits. It was Bruce Poole, as you mentioned, who got involved in that one. So a bit of front wing damage for him, but Poole is able to carry on in 5th place here.
Yeah, front of car for Poole, not looking perfect there, but he does indeed carry on, still holding on to 5th place. The battle behind that, Coulomb, Kern, Granham, Garris, all battling.
Yeah, it's great to see this, isn't it? Oh, no matter where you look in this field, there's battling going on, and these drivers certainly putting on a good show for us here so far today. So going through the right-hander as they carry on, and at the moment just staying as they are, but it's Coulomb and Kern at the front of it. They're in spitting distance of each other, but quite frankly at the moment it's not close enough to be able to make it. So yeah, definitely this time later. John Unsby's gone into the pits. What's happened to John?
He was running very well, top 3. That's the start of turn 2. He's just pulled it over. So what's happened before that? Following along behind Paul Stump, who was in 2nd place. Unsby was in 3rd.
He's blowing his engine. That's what's happened.
Too early on the downshifts, potentially breaking into turn 1.
Yeah, we'll
over-revved.
Yeah, we'll have a look from behind and see what's happened here. You'll see it. There you go.
Telltale smoke of the Mazda rotary engine letting go. And then it's going to cost quite a lot of time to John Unsby, because that's going to have to go on the truck all the way around to the pit lane, and we'll see if he does indeed come out. Another car blowing their engine. Bob Kern. So a lot of drivers struggling keeping the engine going in these cars.
Is it because of the temperature? As we've got it, Wally Moulsby's had an instant as well. Is it because of the air temperature and following cars close together?
I think it might be just drivers losing their focus, downshifting too early, putting too many revs through the engine, but I can't be sure as we see this spin there, and that goes backwards into the wall, which you do not like. The rear wing totally gone. That's too much damage to carry on there.
You said that, he's carrying on.
I just don't imagine that's going to be particularly fast, but you know, lots happening now just past the halfway point of this race, and it's taken a few of the battles away from us, but one we haven't lost this is 8th down. Coulomb, Brink, Rispaldo and Manning Grinnan, who's now up to 11th. Last time I said Manning Grinnan's name, was running in 18th place. And if the pace that Manning Grinnan's got, you assume, going to find that his way into the top 10 as well. He's riding along on board with France Brink, who is 9th place right now. Some cars that are, I think, a little bit a lap down ahead as well. This is part of the fantastic battle that is 8th through to 11th.
Yep, as a car running wide in the background, number 48, that's Rispaldo, making the move, and he's made it stick as well.
Now Manning Grinnan will try to be next, but not a great exit here. 3 cars very, very close. Grinnan looking where he can go, and the 5th dimension is where he can go briefly, but he's back, and out of the corner he gets a great run. Rispaldo goes all the way to the right hand side to try and defend, so Grinnan follows over to grab the slipstream there. Grinnan's going to try and get past France Brink. Grinnan to the inside of Brink and gets that job done, so Brink loses 2 spots in 1 lap.
Yeah, it's a really difficult position where, say, somebody's having a little bit of an internet connection. Don't forget, everybody, that anybody new watching this series, these people are driving at home on the home PCs, and we've got a battle for 4th place going on as well. So they're all battling and driving with their connections on the internet. As there goes De Pasqua now.
Bruce Poole was the car with the damage on, and De Pasqua had closed in and was trying to make that move, and then just gone a little bit beyond the grip of the car. So it was a great move to the inside of the hairpin, but it just wasn't enough to be ahead, and going offline, downhill, maybe a little touch on the grass, and around goes De Pasqua.
Yeah, oh my goodness, 3 wide. And that's not usually what you want to see.
Hellberg in the middle of that would have been France Brink and Remigio De Pasqua. So De Pasqua gets going at about where Hellberg had already gotten going, and France Brink survives another scary moment. This battle's continued. It's now 10th through to 14th, 5 cars for this group. It's all going on.
Well, this is where the battling is, really, in these guys. Leif Hellberg, the number 2 car, you can forget about him in this battle because he is a lap down. So don't worry about him. It's the cars behind him that we are focusing on at the moment. De Pasqua, Brink, Sally, Camel and Florison, they've just dropped back a little bit, haven't they, in their battle? So it's now just a 3-car battle here.
So you can see in the top left of your screen, lap 14 of 21. It's pretty easy maths to do there. We are 2/3 done, 1/3 of this race to go in race 1 of today's proceedings. 1 more race to come after this one, and Bill Lawrence has 2 seconds lead, which is comfortable over Paul Stump in 2nd, and Jos van der Ven has worked himself from 8th on the grid up into 3rd. That's your top 3 you can see going down the pit straight right now. And Bruce Poole has 4th place, but then 5th was a battle that we were having our eyes on. There's only half a second. Bruce Granham in that grey 71 car ahead of Greg Garris, that number 10 car, and got some cars that are a lap down trailing along behind them as well. And that will potentially be giving Greg Garris some worries as he's looking ahead at Bruce Granham for 5th place, but also some cars behind him that he's not racing but are taking up space in his mirrors.
Yeah, it's never nice when you've got lap cars that are sticking right behind you, that have obviously got the pace to stick with you, because it's Stephen
Kartner and Robertson, who are 25th and 26th, so you've got the battle for 5th and 6th make contact, and Granham is around, huge damage, and then they get collected by Mark Robertson as well. Lots of damage on Granham, plenty of damage to Greg Garris as well, so here's the replay of that one, Paul. It's all kicked off.
Yeah, this is our aerial coverage brought to you by Anwen Designs, and just missed his braking point, I feel. Didn't expect the car in front to be so slow, and Garris, you have to say it's on Greg as that one, I'm afraid.
I think so too. Having seen a couple of angles, we'll see the onboard now. It really just looks a little bit optimistic from Garris. He brakes a little bit later, tries to go up the inside, but that door was never going to remain open. The two of them come together, and unfortunately, Bruce Granham has come off the worst. He's had to tow. Garris has tried to continue. There's obviously still some damage on that car. he carries on and doesn't look like he's heading for the pit lane. So Garris in 7th, but now 8th and 9th place, Rispaldo and De Pasqua, Italian Turtles, have caught up to him.
Yeah, they have. So all of a sudden they've got the opportunity to battle for another spot here. So that's great for them to take that opportunity. Not so great for Garris, or indeed the man that he made contact with. So yeah, it's been, I think with this first race, it's everybody getting their feet, finding their feet again, and trying to trying to get back into the swing of things. Maybe a couple of drivers that haven't raced that regularly, so they're just getting used to how everybody drives.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, we mentioned 31 or 32 cars taking the start of the race is more than we've seen in plenty of the other races. Great turnout. And of course, Okayama, it's pretty short, pretty tight, pretty narrow. All of those things make it just a little bit easier for some incidents to occur. And I think it'll all settle out for race 2 and later races in the season as well.
Yeah, certainly. Well, as 5 to go. So we're nearly at the end of this first race already. 2 races, as we've mentioned in this one, in this broadcast several times. We'll mention it again because it's certainly worth it. If you've enjoyed this first race, it's been a little bit hit and miss, but more hit than miss. But certainly it's still been really good close action though, as the 2 Italian Turtles, I think, are maybe thinking about swapping positions here. As around the outside, Remigio De Pasqua makes that move and makes it stick.
I think De Pasqua was running higher earlier in the race, and then these two have dropped back, ended up together, and it's a swap of positions between De Pasqua and Rispaldo, which might just allow De Pasqua to get on and chase Greg Garris like they were doing earlier, close that gap down. Would be some great strategy from the Italians in the red cars, which would be somewhat refreshing.
Oh, well, everyone knows what that's a reference to. Worth pointing out, Bill Lawrence at the front has been losing a little bit of time in this battle for the lead. He was 1.9 seconds ahead a couple of laps ago. That clock is just getting closer and closer, so don't write Paul Stump out of this one yet. He's got plenty of an opportunity to make this move and to challenge for the race lead towards the end here.
It does look like Bill Lawrence, your leader, has started catching quite a bit more traffic, and of course that's going to happen with a big grid around a short track. And I think he just doesn't seem as comfortable working his way through the traffic as Paul Stump, who we're watching right now, is. The car in front of Paul Stump is a bit of traffic, and we'll see how Stump deals with that, because Bill Lawrence has clearly started losing a bit of time once they've gotten deeper into the traffic. Stump pulls out very early to the inside from the hairpin, makes his intentions known, and gets on through just by pulling to the inside very early. He made it clear, I'd like to come through here. That looks like Greg Garris who's gone around.
No, it's William Lee.
Ah, my mistake. They're both blue and yellow, I think, but this is William Lee. We're going to see a replay of what's happened to him coming down the hill. Of course, the track drops away from you a little bit. Does make it easy to have an oversteer moment like William Lee has had. Very respectfully waits before pulling back onto the circuit so he doesn't disrupt anyone else's race. You see live pictures now, he's gotten going again.
Yeah, and I was about to mention that. Very respectful and great awareness to keep an eye on where everyone was on track, as we've had an incident. Oh dear. PJ Sally, Lewis Cannell's involved in this one as well. It's the opening round. Everyone's still getting used to each other again, as that's a late dive there from Lewis Cannell. Yeah, that's not the greatest overtake attempt there, I don't think.
Yeah, so we'll see a replay on board again, and very, very optimistic. Look how far back this is. There's certainly some different speeds on display out here, but the front tyres were well and truly locked up for Cannell there, and I'm not sure he was going to make the corner in the absence of the other driver in front. I think he's maybe missed his braking spot. Otherwise, that was very poorly judged.
Yeah, I think it's more the case that he's missed his braking spot there, and that's what's caused the incident there. It is also a nature of this track as well. I I mean, really, you think about it, it's a lot of slow corners, and a couple of them are from a medium to high speed straight. So it is places where incidents can happen. By the way, Greg Garris has been caught by Respaldo now. Remigio De Pasqua has made his way past Garris in this battle here as Kartner gets out the way. So that one is just on hold for the time being, but already 2 to go in this race.
It's flying by. It's definitely a shorter lap around Okayama than it was at Spa-Francorchamps last time. Almost half the distance, I think. Bill Lawrence has built his lead back out again. He's looking a little bit safer now that I think they've worked their way through some of the traffic. I have to think that's the only thing that was affecting the lead, was just Bill Lawrence's confidence to try and work his way through drivers that he couldn't be 100% sure knew he was there. So that's the smart way to do it, I think, for Bill Lawrence.
Certainly is. By the way, John Morgan on a recovery drive here, going for 11th place. We'll have to keep an eye on that battle a little bit later on, but it looks like Morgan's through, and he is. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one on this the penultimate lap here. And yeah, as you mentioned, Lawrence has had a tremendous race. It's certainly been a good effort from him. Greg Garris is losing enough a place to Franz Brink as well, as they drop down, and behind them you can see John Morgan going defensive already down the back straight.
It's Paulo Bonacera that he's battling with. Bonacera in the mainly white car, and John Morgan with the bit more black and a darker red. They've got Lewis Cannell right behind them as well, so 11th, 12th, 13th all together here, and John Morgan looks pretty well clear of that. I think Paulo Bonacera now has a job to keep Lewis Cannell behind, and you see Manning Grinnan there as well, who's quite a few laps down, unfortunately losing connection with the server earlier on. But a fighter, no doubt, because he has not given up despite some problems in race 1, and definitely will learn plenty for race 2, where hopefully luck will be more on his side. Bill Lawrence has started the final lap, so your leader is on his last lap of the race, and now 3.2 seconds his lead. And I think Paul Stump has fallen back a little bit to be within a second of Jos van der Ven for second and third. So this all looks good for Bill Lawrence, your race leader.
Yes, we're heading round towards the end of the lap here, and it's been a great display from Bill to get out to the front and then just keep it out front. Great stuff from him.
Yeah, he's got one more corner, and then he'll see the checkered flag wave for him in race 1 of round 1 of season 11 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. And what a well done job by Bill Lawrence. He will be your winner in the first race, and Paul Stump just stays ahead of Jos van der Ven in the background there. Plenty more battles still to finish on the final lap though.
Yep, De Pasqua battling with Richard Coulomb as they go around the final hairpins here, and still putting the pressure on. I don't think De Pasqua's going to have a chance and opportunity though, because Richard Coulomb comes around the final corner. No mistake from Richard there, so he's going to oh, speaking of mistakes behind them, that was one of the lap traffic losing control. Matt Robertson, amazingly nobody collected him. But that just shows how easy it is to make a mistake through that final corner.
Yeah, last corner, last lap, and this mistake from Mark Robertson here ended up costing him a spot to Stephen Karkner. So there he is around, and Karkner comes past now in the other blue and white car. The last possible hurdle, and he's tripped on that one, has Mark Robertson. But as we've mentioned, he's got another race to try and seek redemption. I think everyone's crossed the finish line now. We'll have a look at your finishing order from race 1 at Okayama, and Bill Lawrence, your winner, ended up being 2.6 seconds ahead of Paul Stump, who held off Jos van der Ven. And your top 3, head and shoulders above the rest of the field. Bruce Poole in 4th place in a little bit of no man's land there. Richard Coulomb gets 5th, just ahead of Remigio De Pasqua. Gianni Respaldo holds on to 7th place. Franz Brink gets 8th. Greg Garris is 9th, and 10th goes to Gerard Florison.
John Morgan 11th then for the recovery drive, ahead of Paul Bonacera. Lewis Cannell had that incident earlier on Ronald McManus with Ralph Camera not that far behind him. They're the lead lap runners, and then the rest of them all a lap down or more. David Riley, Matt Lisson, William Lee, we still have that spin. Bob Kern and John Unsbeat rounds out your top 20.
And then the last of your finishers is 21st, Wally Molesby. Phil Hopkins is 22nd. 23rd, Stephen Karkner. 24th, Mark Robertson. We saw spinning out the final corner on the final lap. Still finishes ahead of 25th place, Bruce Granham, who was involved in that big incident at Wood Curve. 26th is Leif Hellberg, who started right at the front but could not capitalise from the front row of the grid. 27th is Joel Martin. 28th, Kenneth Baldwin, the last car, 1 lap down. Urs Muller is 2 laps down. Manning Grinnan, unfortunately, with some issues and also disconnecting from the server technically. So 30th place for Manning Grinnan. And then I think only one other car taking the start, and PJ Selly finishes 31st. Paul, we are going to speak to our race winner now.
Yeah, we certainly are, and let's bring him in then. So, race winner, congratulations, opening round of season 11 here for yourself, and what a drive there to be able to first make the move and then just be able to get a good gap at the front.
Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, I have a few new guys in the league this year, and 2 new guys were at position 1 and 2. So I think we're going to have a great season.
Okay, well, I think we're having a few technical problems with your microphone there. It's not coming through completely clear, but we kind of we got that. Hopefully, it's not something too serious with the microphone there. But anyway, it means that for the next race, of course. It means that you've got the maximum points. You don't need to worry about that. And it's maybe more of a bit of a fun race for yourself.
Yeah, is this any better?
Not particularly, but we're getting what you're saying, and we'll be fine. And yeah, so how you think? How's your approach for the second race?
Well, typically I've had trouble in the second race. I don't know if my focus goes off or. After I have one on the podium, so I'll try my best.
Okay, well, I think we'll leave it at that for the time being, Bill, and hopefully we could get that resolved there. But congratulations on the race winning race 1.
Thank you.
So David, that was our race winner, Bill Lawrence, and why don't you take it away then with our third place driver, Jos van der Ven.
Yeah, thankfully Bill Lawrence's driving equipment works even if his microphone is giving him a little bit of troubles there. But we do have the third place finishing Jos van der Ven. And Jos, on the podium in race 1, you've got that in the bag. That's a good result. Can you go better in race 2? I don't know about you, Paul, but I don't actually hear anything from Jos, although I can see him trying to queue up his microphone. See if we've got Jos now. They're all putting on a great show on the racing. It's just when we bring them into the commentary box, we seem to struggle. Jos, do we have a copy from you now?
That would be a negative.
That's a real shame, because I was interested to hear from some of these guys about their thoughts, and they always have nice things to say, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that.
What we'll do is what they call in the industry, which is called vamping, which is where we talk indiscriminately between each other, whilst giving an opportunity for the person who maybe is having technical problems to try and resolve that. And I will say that first race, it was a little bit of back to school syndrome, I feel there, and people not quite feeling comfortable with everything, and maybe getting back used to how the cars were going, and hopefully that will have given Jos enough time to hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully we can get Jos on the line. And that really will be enough. No, we unfortunately, yep. There's no audio there. Yeah, David, it's what we'll have to do is we'll have to just leave it there for the time being because we've got a second race to come, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. Race 1 run and done in the books, but race 2 coming up quite soon, and it has its own qualifying session, its own grid, and then the drivers will see if they can improve on their race 1 result. Of course, the points from race 1 locked in now, but race 2, it's the best of the 2 races. So Bill Lawrence, even though he's won race 1, still has something to fight for in race 2 to prevent anyone else from getting those points. We're going to go to a quick break right now. We'll be back very soon with race 2, which hopefully will be just as exciting.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
This is Jim Beaver, voice of the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series. Introducing Pro 2 and Pro 4 trucks on iRacing. Game on!
It is my honour to welcome you to Barber Motorsports Park and welcome to the Porsche Esports Championship live on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network.
Once again, looking up at the lights, waiting for the green. Waiting patiently, you hear the engines revving, and I think there's a jump start further back for one of your drivers, but it's a good getaway from Frederick Rasmussen. It's into an early lead into turn number one. Once again, just check out. factor here in this race because the track temperature, it is rather warm. It's in the 30s, high 30s centigrade.
Down the back straight, just behind Lord Henrik and Kush is around. If we can get that one back, there's the aftermath with the red line driver of Hutu spinning as well. Contact between the two up in towards turn 12 there, Paul.
Yeah, that's will along with it.
Well, here we go.
As here we go, race lead down the inside. Joshua Rogers, he's not wasting any time. It was arrive and drive, but still side by side after the hairpin. What can they do? They're almost touching doors once again. Fredrik Rasmussen holding that inside line. That's the advantage of holding that outside line into this one. Oh, very close on the brake and they're slowing each other up. This is hitting each other. Race lead though, down the inside into the hairpin once again. Joshua Rogers, he's trying to make this move and trying to make it stick. He's squeezing Fredrik Rasmussen to the outside of the corner, and once again over the bumps they almost touch doors. Fredrik Rasmussen holding the line. This time Rogers round the outside. Brilliant move into the chicane and hairpin. Can he hold on to it? No, he's squirreling on the way out the corner. Here comes Rasmussen back at it now into the first chicane. It's a single line battle for second is ongoing here. De Jong down the inside of Rasmussen, and what we're going to see, De Jong is crowding Rasmussen there. A little rub. Rasmussen's not having it as they go into the chicane here, and now the hairpin. Rasmussen's almost around. He's making contact. Big incident there. He's got damage to the car, but most importantly, he's down outside the top 10. Waited for his opportunity, got ahead of his teammate, and early on made the move for the lead, and it's going to be a race victory in the opening feature race here in the Porsche Esport Super Cup for Joshua Rogers. Mitchell de Jong is going to make it a VRS Quanda Simsport 1-2 with Sebastian George.
The road to $100,000 returns to the high banks of the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, where we say good evening, sim racing fans. Let's go racing from Talladega. Green flag in the air for round 6. In the corner, trying to get through. So far, so good. As they head now down to the tri-oval, I think we're going to make it. Playing musical chairs up front, no issues for the 17 of Michael Guest. I think it would have blown up the 17 who was pushed into one of your race leaders. Michael Guest is going to lose the engine while running in third place. You saw this, but a few times that very outside line and out of the line of contact. The 62 of Leahy, he'll get turned sideways. The 8's around as well. Caution flag as they wreck in turn 2. It's only going to end up being a few cars. Somehow, a majority of them get through it. Huge shoving for the race lead is going to be Logan Kress. Look at the 16 to the inside. He tries to cut low. He can't do it as an aggressive dive for P1 from Overland is going to end in second place. Kress was able to block 4 wide now. Here we go at Dega as they're going all out at a turn 2.
A couple moments that exist for here. They turn into one and a falling is turned.
Ralph Fallow with issues as the 21 machine is sideways. The caution flag will come out. He'll get hit late as more cars now full time in turns 3 and 4. Can Lusa find some extra? Here comes Ottinger in second. He'll look to the outside. There comes the 47. It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe, and it is Nick Ottinger, winner at Talladega.
doesn't have his teammate right behind him, so he's going to wait patiently. No, he's going to stick his nose in, and his teammate is going to try to make it 3 wide down through turn 8, looking to try and get around either side of Riley Thompson. Somehow they get through there, and somehow Everton comes out on top to the inside, sees it, to the inside again, in between them, to the outside, slips to the inside, and he's through all of them in a matter of seconds. I would not try that myself. Oh my goodness.
Welcome back for race 2 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. This is round 1 of season 11. 60 Plus Racing Adventures is back here on RaceSpot, and they're just finishing up a little warm-up session. In a couple of seconds we'll go into qualifying for race 2. We'll of course set the grid for the race 2. The drivers have 10 minutes but 2 flying laps, so often expire the 2 laps before the time has elapsed. We'll have an idea of who might stand on pole position for race 2. We've got 27 drivers here for race 2 right now, and having a look at the track, at the weather conditions, It's 3.6 kilometers around this circuit, the full length layout of Okayama International Circuit in Japan, and the weather pretty much the same as race 1. About 20 degrees Celsius in the air, 39 degrees Celsius on track. That's a little bit warm. And once again, I'm David Haynes, and alongside me is Paul Smith. Paul, what do you think we'll see differently in race 2?
I think we'll see a lot of drivers who didn't have a good first race really try to pull out a result in the second race. But I do also believe that we'll see a lot of drivers who realise what that first race was like and realise the mistakes that was happening, and will look to cut those mistakes out from their driving in this second race. So we've got qualifying, so we thought we'd bring you back for qualifying. There's only so many iRacing top 10s we can show. Unfortunately, we couldn't get through today, it's January. But there you go. So we'll have a look then at qualifying. It's the first flying lap for this man right here, and that is Matt Robertson. He's going to be starting. This is his out lap, and now he's going to be starting his flying lap around this circuit.
It's right on board with him. So into turn 1, pretty sweeping, but we saw quite a few drivers get oversteer about in the middle of that corner, and then turn 2 can be quite difficult. It's a little bit off camber, so if you get too much of the curb on the inside, it can be tough there. Flat out through the Moss S here, that's been widened since the circuit was first built, and then into a tricky one. Atwood Curve is uphill, opens up a little bit on the exit, and is absolutely critical for your run down the longest straight on the circuit. This is what we've been referring to as the backstretch. Tiny little kink there just before the braking zone for the hairpin. This is the most solid overtaking opportunity. Corner is a little bit banked, so if you get down towards the inside, the grip there is good. Then a 90-degree left-hander that descends downhill a little bit, that can be tricky. And then into the tight and technical section of the circuit goes Mark Robertson. 2 hairpins in a row here. First one uphill and to the right hand side. Don't throw too much speed in, and careful putting the throttle down as well, but this is all looking very clean, very solid banker lap for Mark Robertson. Now he comes into the final corner where he came unstuck at the end of race 1, gives it a lot more respect here in qualifying. We'll get an idea what this lap time looks like for Mark Robertson. 1 minute 23.9, and you can see on the left hand side of the screen the column just nearly identical with Lawrence, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Third place apparently doesn't exist on our timing screen, so apologies there. But we'll be able to say that's Paul Stump who's in third place at the moment in qualifying, as the rest of the times are coming in here thick and fast. And these drivers all trying to get their lap times in, and they're trying to get a solid effort here, and try and get a good starting position. One person will be really be wanting to get a good starting position, and he's currently in that, is Stephen Cartner from that first race. Didn't set a qualifying lap time at all.
Yeah, indeed. So definitely chance for improvement there. We've lost 1 or 2 drivers from race 1, but the grid still very, very healthy. And you can see that we've got 11 cars in 11 cars within 1 second of your leader right now. Of course, a lot of the drivers on their second lap right now, having put one in the bank from lap 1, looking to improve on lap 2.
Yep, as we go through the hairpins here with DePasqua. Important to get the run out of this corner. He's doing just that, as we're seeing other times coming in. John Unsby up in second place now.
Yeah, within 1/10 of Stephen Carkner, we'll see Remigio DePasqua cross the line for Team Italian Turtles. They had a pretty good result, 2 cars in the top 10 in race 1. Looking to go better this time, and 1 minute 24.5 will not bother our top 12. We look over, and that is Bob Kern, who is not in your top 12, but looking to be.
He's given it a good go. He's not set a lap time yet, which is a little bit concerning for him. But this is his first qualifying hot lap, so we'll see how he gets on here.
Yeah, indeed. No need to go out immediately at the start of the session when you've only got 2 laps. You can go out a little bit later, and maybe the track conditions will swing in your favour. Who knows? But of course, just 1 minute 20-second or so laps here means that in the last 5 minutes of the session you can do an out lap and 2 flying laps, and Bob Kern will have time if this is his first flying lap. And it all looks very tidy so far, using the curb on the inside and the exit of the corners, but not too much, not getting on the grass, just keeping it sensibly within boundaries. And Kern's going to try and set up a late apex through this hairpin up the hill, and you can just about keep the throttle flat through this kink down the hill and into the final corner. Run out of there is important as well, especially if Bob Kern wants to have another flying lap after this one. We'll see where the first one puts him. He's 27th right now across the line, and that'll send Bob Kern into 12th place, 8/10 shy of Stephen Karkner. But with one more lap on the board, Bob Kern can try and improve this time.
Hopefully he can as well, because it'd be great to see him up at the front of the field after his first race, not the best first race. So yeah, he'll be hoping for big things. Leif Hellberg as well, he's somebody who's not set a lap time, and he'll be looking for some really good lap times here as well. So hopefully for him, he gets up there, because he was up there at the front, wasn't he, in that first race?
Yeah, 2nd place on the grid, so on the front row, almost jumped the start, had to back out of it, so won't make that mistake again. And let's see what this lap does for Hellberg.
It doesn't, is the answer. He's invalidated his lap. For anybody who's new to iRacing, that means he most likely went off the track, got himself an instant point for going off track. So iRacing awards instant points for you, and if you pick up one of those instant points on your hot lap in qualifying, that means it invalidates your lap time, so that lap time will not count.
Yeah, leaving the boundaries of the circuit on a qualifying lap means it will not be counted. Bob Kern goes to 10th place while we're watching Hellberg's lap, and see if this one will be a valid lap time for Leif Hellberg, looking to repeat their front row start. But first lap not going so well means that it's all on the line on lap 2. Can't afford any mistakes, otherwise we'll be starting from just about the back of the grid, because of our 28 cars that are now present, 26 have a qualifying time. The only drivers without one so far, Hellberg and Franz Brink. Hellberg out of the final corner to finish the final lap of qualifying for the number 28 car. This looks reasonable enough. A 24.5 is only 17th place though, so from the heady heights of the front row in race 1 to starting 17th in race 2, Leif Hellberg is going to have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's not ideal for him in that for the second race here. Everybody else has set their qualifying lap times, and Franz Brink hasn't gone out on track in the second race. Words. I think I've got your issue there, David. But yeah, it's a bit of a mix-up grid from that first race, and I'm looking forward to it. We've got about 30 seconds to kill before I can actually start showing you the grid.
Exactly. Of course, having a separate qualifying session for races 1 and 2, and the fact that the drivers only get 2 laps does mean that we get quite a different mix on the grid between race 1 and 2, that is for sure. So we do count down the remaining seconds of this qualifying session. Every driver has completed all of their laps, and we're looking forward to another 21 lap race around Okayama circuit.
Yeah, as the clock ticks over, so we'll be able to bring you your starting grid then, David.
Indeed, on pole position from Canada, it's Stephen Karkner in the number 75 car, and he is just a 10th clear of John Unsby in second place. He'll start alongside him, the front row of the grid. Jos van der Ven finished third in race 1, now qualifies third in race 2. And he'll have Kenneth Baldwin for company in 4th place. 5th place, it's John Morgan. In 6th place, Manning Grinnan, hoping for better luck in race 2 to start season 11 for him. 7th place is Paul Stump. In 8th place, Greg Garris, another driver hoping for a bit more luck this time around. Mark Robertson has 9th place. Bob Kern rounds out the top 10. And Bill Lawrence is 11th. Bruce Poole in 12th. Very tight margins there.
Yeah, Remigio of the Pass for 13th for the Team Italian Turtles. Team Otto in 14th with Joel Martin, Richard Coulomb and David Riley 15th, 16th with Leif Hellberg. Not good qualifying for him, down in 17th. Lewis Cannell 18th ahead of Gianni Raspaldo. Jeremy Florison rounding out your top 20. And then Bruce Granheim, Ralph Camera, Ronald McManus, Wally Moresby, Urs Muller, Mark Lisson, William Lee and Franz Brink round out your field.
Franz Brink present but with no qualifying time. Not sure if he'll take the start, but they're all away and rolling now behind the iRacing safety car. And Stephen Karkner on the inside. John Unsby in the yellow on the outside. Will be Stephen Karkner's prerogative when he decides to jump, and that's what caught out Leif Hellberg in race 1, but the safety car pulls in, not through the proper pit entry, but does nonetheless. And got to congratulate John Unsby for that beautiful race spot sticker he's running on his car. Stephen Karkner revs it, and we are racing 21 laps ahead of us, 2 by 2, side by side, and a great jump from Jos van der Ven, who's going to maybe just jump up into second. Van der Ven in the purple and white grabs second place away from John Unsby. Now side by side through turn 1 for the rest of the field, but a great jump from Stephen Karkner, who's now 8/10 clear. John Unsby has not given up on second place.
Yeah, he's certainly giving it a go, isn't he? And he's trying to get by, but having to stay behind for the time being as they go up the hill once again. And Unsby in that slipstream though. Van der Ven, he's not free, and the rest of them, Kenneth Baldwin and XL, are all coming through. And Manning Grinnan is looking a bit dangerous here as well.
Grinnan does look to the inside of the hairpin, just about gets it done. So I think that's Manning Grinnan ahead of John Morgan now. Grinnan from 6th on the grid, now running 5th. Karkner has now pulled out more than a 1 second gap, but the rest of the field still very tightly together, as you can see in this shot. This is where Grinnan came undone in race 1. This corner here, he was too aggressive on the entry. He's clearly learnt plenty about that. Track temperature's still hot, still slippery out there. We look at the likes of Bruce Poole, Joel Martin, and I think it's Richard Coulomb also in one of the green cars there. We've just about completed our first racing lap, and all pretty clean, and I hope they can continue that for 20 more.
Yeah, that'd be the ideal thing that we want to see here today.
Oh, your leader Karkner goes wide, gets oversteer on the exit of 1 and into the barrier, so a great first lap turns to disaster for Stephen Karkner, pushing it too hard through turn 1. Here's your replay. In the background you see John Unsby also using a little bit, but this is what happened to your race leader and your pole sitter. Pushes out wide, keeps it onto the gravel, the car snaps around and nose first into the barrier. Stephen Karkner from hero to 0 in 1 lap.
Yeah, we've also lost Remigio de Pasqua as well in all of this. Hopefully we'll be able to see what happens. This is on the exit of 1 into 2. Loses control, the car just snaps. He tries to, do you know what? He just parked it there and takes the tow back to the pits. So, yeah, disaster for him. But all of this means that Jos van der Ven is out in the lead.
Yeah, from working his way onto the podium in race 1, now he has the lead of the race, ahead of John Unsby, who then gets promoted into 2nd, and Manning Grinnan now in 3rd. Problems for someone else here, though.
Yeah, Joel Martin will have a look at this one then, as they come through the double left-hander, and I just think he's going to lose control of the car on the exit. We've seen it a few times, and there onto the grass, around he goes. just taps the tyre barrier, so he should be able to carry on with that.
Again, going to cost him a lot of time as you see all of those other cars stream on past. Looking now, Manning Grinnan, who's third position after what was effectively a DNF in race 1, 3 laps down, leading a great little train. Kenneth Baldwin is going to follow exactly in the wheel tracks, trying to pick up the best slipstream possible, and then Paul Stump in the minty green car doing exactly the same. John Morgan, Bill Lawrence behind. Great battle for the final spot on the podium.
Yep, they're giving us a good show, aren't they? You can see Grinnan in front, but Paul Stump's pretty close behind as well. Oh, Baldwin runs wide. Stump, I think, made a mistake as well, so Baldwin's got off there with that little mistake onto the grass, and yeah, he was lucky.
Yeah, lucky indeed, seen it. Only takes 2 wheels on the grass or in the dirt to have a problem, just as happened for the number 7 car. Jared Florison will have a replay on that one. This is coming downhill and then into, well, the rear was gone very early on turning into that corner there for Gerard Florison.
Yeah, we're going to stay on replay because Ralph Kammerer has come a cropper as well. And oh, gets a tap from behind. Oh, and he's got to wait. He's got to wait. Oh, that's a nightmare for him. So unfortunately for him, and he's back to the pits as well.
So a few drivers not having the start to the race they would want. One driver who maybe is, though, Paul Stump, would ride on board with up 2 positions and following right in those wheel tracks of Kenneth Baldwin in front for 4th place. You see with your eyes just how much the slipstream advantages the car behind, how much it helps them once you're ringing it out in 6th gear. A good line through the hairpin as well from Paul Stump, so he's right there giving Kenneth Baldwin plenty to think about. Keep it close as possible. Baldwin a little bit nicer with the track limits this time. Stump, who was very pacey in race 1, trying to move up further spots in race 2. As he comes through what's the final sector of the race, quickly downhill in the right-hander past the pit entry and then into the braking zone for the final corner. Now here you've got the curb and then the green painted concrete, which you can track out a little bit with, and Bill Lawrence shows exactly how much you can get away with. He's on a charge as well, started 11th, now running 6th.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job, isn't he, of trying to catch up. We're keeping an eye on this because it is battle for 4th and 5th place, with Bill also catching up behind them. But we've got to keep an eye on that race lead as well, because John Unsby is keeping Jos van der Ven very honest in this one, just 6.5 tenths ahead. By the way, if you do want to keep an eye on everything that's going on in this race, RaceSpot.tv/timing to keep up to date with all that's happening in this one.
Indeed, so watching Paul Stump, he cannot pass Kenneth Baldwin into the hairpin this time. You see a little bit of smoke from a lockup from Baldwin, though, runs a bit wide. Gives Paul Stump the opportunity to make it side by side, but that puts him on the outside in that very difficult downhill corner, so nothing happening there that time. Still ride on board, and it gives you a great sense of speed, and nearly caught out on the brake.
Yeah, as they go through the hairpins there.
He's looking to put a move on Kenneth Baldwin, but Bill Lawrence has caught up a little bit closer behind your race 1 winner, moving up positions, and again he likes to go out very wide on the exit of the final corner.
We've got a spinner. Oh, and a big incident! Richard Coulon. I think Bruce Poole was the first one to lose control. We'll get a replay then.
So this is on board with Richard Coulomb, I think. You see Bruce Poole is the car ahead, and so he spins around. Coulomb doesn't know which way to go, makes contact, and that is a dizzying and sickening on board. Thankfully, this is sim racing. Both drivers will be okay, but their race may not be, because that is serious damage to both cars. It was all started by Bruce Poole. He's lost control through the middle of the corner, ends up sideways on the racing line. No time to react for the car behind. Both of them flips somersaults through the air. A lot of damage, a lot of time lost.
But thankfully able to not have anybody else get caught up in that one. Paul Stump all of a sudden is quite slow, and Bill Lawrence is trying to put the pressure on, and he's going to make the move.
There was some bizarre lines there from Paul Stump, obviously losing a lot of time. Bill Lawrence moves up into 5th, and right behind you see John Morgan, Bob Kern. Great battle for 5th. Lawrence is through. We might expect to see him pull away. Paul Stump has had an odd little lap there, and he's now going to have to be careful because that's the red car of John Morgan, red and black, right behind, with a great manufacturer of cameras on the rear wing as well. That will be helping him autofocus maybe.
Any more?
No, I'm done now.
Okay. He's a man who likes his coffee as well, but as they go through the Moss
What a guy, I like him already.
Into the hairpin once again. Other manufacturers and coffee chains are available, by the way. But yeah, they go down this back straight. Paul Stump has got a great slipstream here, and he's going to put the pressure on Bill Lawrence as they head into the hairpin.
So Lawrence defends into the hairpin, takes the inside line, and is not quicker around the outside for Paul Stump this time, though he did indeed get very close. And of course, this is a setup with a series with fixed setups. Nearly got my words the wrong way around there, which means that everyone's running the same downforce levels. So the slipstream there means that the car in front can't be running a lower downforce and scamper away. Everyone with equal wing levels makes them all very equal in a straight line. This is for the lead of the race though. Jos van der Ven in the white and purple leads 6/10 ahead of John Unsby in 2nd, and Manning Grinnan flying along up from 6th into 3rd place and has closed in several tenths on your leaders this lap. And I expect the lap times to get quicker because you can see they've just gone underneath a bit of cloud cover. The track temperatures drop, the grip increases, and the lap times get even quicker. Your top 3 are several seconds clear of everyone else. I think at the moment the win in this race is going to be between Van der Ven, Unsby, and Manning Grinnan, who is, as I say, flying along, catching up to these top 2.
Yeah, certainly doing a good job. We mentioned about how it was unfortunate with his technical issues in that first race was Manning, but making the most of the second race, and as I mentioned in that first race coverage, and I'll mention it again, that's the beauty of this series. If you have a bit of a nightmare in the first race, you can redeem yourself and get yourself a good point score in the second one, because it is your best points scoring position from the 2 races is what you get to take into the championship for anyone new to this series.
And of course the spin in race 1 for Manning Grinnan was partially his own fault, but the technical issues you cannot blame on him. Looking a lot better this race, and a great line through the final corner. Pulls out of the slipstream a little bit, and you can see behind the battle for 4th is hot as well. So great racing. Look at them all in a line. Kenneth Baldwin leads Bill Lawrence, leads Paul Stump, and then John Morgan follows around, and Kernan Garris, 2 drivers who would look to improve on their race 1 as well, having a good time of it. And here is your top 8 pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Van der Ven in the lead of this one, 0.8 of a second ahead of John Unsby, who's in 2nd. Manning Grinnan, great drive from him so far in 3rd. And as you mentioned earlier, that gap back to 4th place, Kenneth Baldwin leading this group of cars, with Bill Lawrence on a bit of a charge in 5th place. Paul Stump 6th, with John Morgan getting closer in 7th. And Bob Kern is not that far away from these either. He's in 8th, and he's dragging along with him Greg Garris.
So on the 9th lap of the race with 13 to go, it's looking very promising in our battles for everywhere in your top 10. None of it decided, and it's going to require drivers with a little bit of patience but plenty of skill, and to keep the car underneath them for this full race distance. And you see here on your left hand side of the screen who has been the movers and shakers so far in this race. Van der Ven up 2 spots, Unsby still in 2nd where he started on the grid, and Manning Grinnan up 3 spots. Biggest movers there though, Bill Lawrence, race 1 winner, doing well, and at Bruce Granheim from, that would be 21st on the grid, now in our top 12 graphic, so doing well despite the race 1 where there was a huge incident, and you can see the rest of your field there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Franz Brink up 10 positions. He'll be happy with that in this second race. But Grinnen, Manon Grinnen is looking racy now. He's wanting to start making some moves, because I think he can see and sense a race winners. They're actually catching up to a little bit of lap traffic. Hopefully that traffic is able to get out the way here to not disturb this battle too much. But your race leader goes past, then second, then third. So that's really good driving from your lap traffic there. Really respectful driving to let the lead battle. And this has actually closed it up a bit here, because all of a sudden the three of them are less than a second between the three.
It looked like it took Van de Ven a few corners to get through, and then once he made the move, traffic pulled aside and let everyone through. That cost Van de Ven a little bit of time, because before that it really looked like Manning Grinnen was the one applying pressure to John Unsby, not Unsby to the leader. It looked like that had cost Van de Ven 2 or 3 tenths on that lap as well, so makes the battle for your podium just that little bit spicier. Van de Ven has not gotten away, and this will let Unsby get a great slipstream down the back stretch, which will not only help him close up to Van de Ven, but having the slipstream in front will make Unsby a little bit quicker, which will help him defend from Manning Grinnen. Grinnen has got a great run up the hill out of Atwood Curve though. This is your top 3. Van de Ven the leader, Unsby in second, Grinnen in third. None of them gonna switch positions into the hairpin, the most difficult, the longest braking zone on the circuit, and it leads into what's quite a tight final sector.
Speaking of battling, Bill Lawrence has got ahead of Kenneth Baldwin, so up to 4th place now for Bill, so great drive from him. 11th place start, he's now in 4th place. That's really good, and he's got quite the task though to catch up to that lead battle.
Bill Lawrence definitely showing that he has the pace though, and he has the points in the bag from race 1, the points of the win. What he's doing right now is potentially taking points away from others, but John Unsby through the final corner, run a little bit wide, and is now side by side with Manning Grinnen for 2nd place. Grinnen in the blue car will have the inside line into turn 1. I think John Unsby realizes when maybe the battle is done, so Grinnen moves into 2nd place, and now we'll have to try and catch Van de Ven for the lead. John Unsby slips back into 3rd with that little mistake, but still holds a good gap over 4th place.
I think if you're Jos Van de Ven, you would look with glee in your rear view mirror when you see those two battling, because it means that you can just run away that little bit at the front, and you can see how that gap now, 1.3 seconds all of a sudden between 1st and 2nd place. But we've seen Manning Grinnen, fastest lap of the race so far. You can see it in your top of your screen. And he is on a mission and on a charge to try and make the most of this race, as Paul Stump has had an issue here down at the hairpin.
So here is the replay. Paul Stump was running well, and he is... what's going to happen here? Is he helped around, or does he make a mistake? I think he's solidly missed his braking zone, and in avoiding the car in front has put 2 wheels on the grass. He's just gone out wide, had to surrender a few places, but thankfully avoided a bigger incident.
Yeah, I think that as we look from on board, you see going into the braking zone. Oops, I've missed my braking. Locks up. Does very well to avoid that, and I think there was also good avoidance looking in the mirrors from the car that he was coming up behind. So great work between the two of them to keep out of trouble and to keep going in this race.
So Stump ended up giving away a position to Bob Kern, who is now in front. Stump has Greg Garris right behind. And this is the battle that we see right now as they come towards Atwood Curve once again. Van de Ven in the lead has a little bit more gap over Manning Grinnen, though the battle is Grinnen and Unsby for 2nd place, I still think. Look here, can Paul Stump get that position back? He'll be much more careful about his braking point this time, and that looked just about right. Can't get back past Bob Kern this time, having made a mistake in that corner the lap previous that led him through.
Yeah, I think when you make a mistake like that, the next time you go through that corner, you're just a little bit hesitant and hope that you don't, lightning doesn't strike twice. and he's a good enough driver to be able to overcome that and to get back on the pace and pushing hard, and that's exactly what he's doing here with Bob Kern.
It's one of our closer battles up the front, and just as you earlier mentioned that Manning Grinnen had the fastest lap of the race, Jos van der Ven's just gone and taken it away from him by less than 1/10 of a second. So lap time's pretty quick and pretty equal up front right now. So just past the halfway point of the race with 8 laps to go. Stump is looking very closely at Bob Kern this time. We've seen people try to make the move to the inside of the right-hander here and it not work out. What you need is a great run up the hill. The tighter line looks like it's paid off for Stump. Just right in the draft, in the slipstream, closing, not being defended by Kern, so Stump will go to the inside. Have to be very careful about where he finds his braking point. He's not so brave on the brakes down the inside, and they remain side by side. Bob Kern now has the inside line, but Stump will swoop around the outside to take 7th place away. That was great.
Yeah, good work from both drivers there. It's so easy to get caught up in between each other as Greg Garris now looking to try and make some moves in this one. Not able to get involved there, but as I mentioned, it's so easy to when you go side by side through there to just get caught up with each other and make a little mistake, and that costing you a big amount of time. Further back, Bruce Granheim, his charge has come to a bit of a halt at the moment. He's stuck behind David Riley, so he's down in 11th and 12th place for those two. And look at the front. All of a sudden, Manning Grinnen,
Van der Ven's had a problem.
Yeah, he's right on the tail.
Manning Grinnen has closed up 7/10 of a second in the first couple of corners of the lap. Doesn't look like there's much damage or anything for Jos van der Ven. Maybe he just had a little slide. But Manning Grinnen goes to the inside. Jos van der Ven defends into the hairpin. Oh, this is great. These two are battling very, very fiercely for the lead of the race, and as they should do. So Van der Ven still leads. His name written on the rear wing there, right on board with Manning Grinnen. He's closed this gap down from about 2 seconds to being, well, a car length or so. But now Van der Ven will defend for his life. Both of these guys know how to win races in 60-plus racing adventures. They've done it before, but only one of them can be a winner in race 2. Neither of them won in race 1. Whoever of these two can win this race will finish the first round as equal points leader with Bill Lawrence, and once again Van der Ven feels the need to defend into turn 1. Manning Grinnen will not try and go around the outside. He'll try and get a better run on the exit, set up turn 2, but it won't work out this time. If these two can continue battling, John Unsby might close up a little bit. Now Manning Grinnen will have to be careful, set up the best run up the hill for what's the best opportunity to make an overtake into the hairpin. Has he done it this time? Not sure. It's going to be very close once again, Paul.
Manning Grinnen, though, doesn't have to rush this. He can just take his time if he wants, or he could try and make the move like he's doing now into the hairpin. Maybe force Van der Ven the mistake, but Van der Ven is a wily character. He's a multiple race winner. He knows what it takes to race around here, because the last time the championship raced here, he won the second race here, so he knows how to get the job done at this course. But Grinnen and Van der Ven battling away, and John Unsby, he's there, he's in the mirrors, he's trying to make himself known, and if they fight a little bit too much, then he'll be there to make the most of it, and lo and behold, he has been catching on this lap.
You've seen that Van der Ven's not afraid to defend the lead of the race all the way to the right hand side on the backstretch, and it doesn't take Manning Grinnen forcing that issue too much before they're both going to lose time, not able to take the line that's most optimal into that hairpin. Van der Ven's bought himself just a couple of cars lengths of buffer now. Grinnen's not as close as he was for the previous 2 laps, but he'll still be right within range to close up down the back straight, following along right behind Jos van der Ven, sort of appear up the hill onto the back straight, and you can see the distances Van der Ven, Grinnen, and then John Unsby. Van der Ven doesn't have to defend so hard this time, but Grinnen is close.
Yeah, he's certainly putting the pressure on. But as I said, he doesn't need to panic and he doesn't need to rush either. So he's got the time available to him. It's going to be 4 to go when they come across the line. So he's got plenty of opportunities left. And the thing is as well, these two are really closely matched in terms of pace. If Grinnen gets ahead, that's not to say that Van der Ven will make the move back again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Grinnen made the move this lap with 4 to go, that's 4 laps that Jos Van der Ven has the opportunity to fight and take it back, and you know he'd try with all his might with how much he's attempting to defend it. It looks like he's just got Manning Grinnen covered for the moment. That gap that was 2 or 3 tenths is now 6 tenths. And you can see that lap 15 how much Manning Grinnen closed it up, but he's lost some of that margin since then. It's great to have a battle like this back and forth though, that's for the lead of the race. That is fantastic to watch. Once again, Grinnen, love this on board. You can see this is following exactly the line of Jos Van der Ven. He closes up, but he's not there, not alongside as they reach the braking for the hairpin, and you see that Van der Ven takes a much later apex, whereas Manning Grinnen tries to ride the inside like it's the carousel.
The advantage of taking that late apex is it means it's easier to get on over to the right hand side of the track for the next left-hander, so it's the optimal line to take. But Van der Ven now having to go defensive here because Manning Grinnen is putting the pressure on. There's a car in a wall there. I think that's Ralph Kammerer, but we'll keep with this lead battle because it's getting quite close. And the advantage with these cars is, he's run wide. This is the opportunity now for Grinnen.
Yeah, Van der Ven off in the final corner. Manning Grinnen gets a much better run. He's got the high ground of the inside line into turn 1, and he's through for the moment. Can he complete the corner? And we now ride on board with Jos Van der Ven, who's now the second place man. So Grinnen capitalizes the mistake from Van der Ven, applying just enough pressure. Grinnen leads, Van der Ven second. John Unsby, unfortunately, not quite close enough to join this battle at the moment. Van der Ven will have his head down now. He's very close, coming up the hill on the back stretch. Grinnen all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit, signalling his intent to defend the lead of the race. Cannot deter Van der Ven. They swap lines a little bit, but Grinnen defends it on the inside successfully in the hairpin, and he holds onto the race lead for now. Van der Ven, very equally matched, will try and take that back if he can. Now it's Grinnen's turn to run a little bit wide, but I think he'll get away with it.
Yeah, he will for the time being. I'm keeping an eye on the timing screen as well for a battle further down your field. 7th, 8th and 9th, Kern, Garrison, Stump. But we'll keep with this one because this is for all the marbles in this first race. Matt Robertson's had an issue at some point out on the track, but again, with so little time to go, just 2 to goes across the line, it's now getting a little bit more desperate for Jos Van der Ven.
Yeah, exactly, and neither of these guys won the first race, and of course that means whoever wins race 2 becomes equal points leader in the championship. That's what they're racing for, a good points haul out of the box in round 1. And Van der Ven gets so close to the back of Manning Grinnen, and the sun's out now, the track will warm up. I think that's hurt Jos Van der Ven's run up the hill. Grinnen's got a little bit more space, but once again, all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit. That's not the normal racing line. He is trying to defend the lead hard as he can into the hairpins. Prime overtaking position. It's a difficult, long braking zone after the fastest straight on the circuit. It's a slam dunk as far as where you'd try and make the overtake if you could, but once again, Grinnen has it covered. Unsby has closed up a little bit. He was 2 seconds off the lead, now 1.6 or so off the lead as Grinnen and Van der Ven fight for the lead, and Grinnen's pulled out a couple more car lengths. So we look back This is the battle of Kern, Garris and Stump for 7th, 8th and 9th place, Paul.
Yeah, they're giving a good show as well. Battles throughout the field, because there is a battle for 11th as well between 3 cars, and a battle for 16th between 3 cars. So 3-car battles all the way through your field. This is more what we wanted to see. That first race was a little bit hectic, as we saw, whereas this race it's more of this clean, hard action, and that's exactly what we want to see. But it's the start of the final lap, and your lead battle, well, it's going to come down to this.
This is Jos van der Ven's golden opportunity to try and take the lead back on the final lap. This is the best overtaking spot left on the lap. Manning Grinnen in the blue car all the way to his right hand side trying to defend it. Moves back across. Van der Ven will try and stick his nose up the inside, but it's too late. Grinnen runs a bit wide. Van der Ven has the nose in front downhill. Grinnen comes across. They make contact. They're around. John Unsby into the lead. And Grinnen and Van der Ven have come together. Damage for both of them. Bill Lawrence comes through into second. He's having a great round one. But this is Stephen Bradbury proportions for John Unsby, just running around in third place. First and second collide, and he is, as it is right now, 2 corners to go, just about going to be the winner. So out the final corner he comes. He sees the checkered flag first, hasn't led a lap all race except this final one, and that's all he needed to win to pick up the maximum points in round one. Unsby, a winner in 60 plus racing adventures. Bill Lawrence comes across for second. Kenneth Baldwin and John Morgan will get third and fourth. Van der Ven limps back for fifth. But here is a replay of that huge race-defining moment between Grinnen and Van der Ven, which was for the lead of the race, and they've come together on the final lap.
Yes, here we go again. We'll have a look at this one. It was a late move by Van der Ven. A locked brake from Grinnen. Van der Ven goes down the inside, and then they get alongside each other, and just the slightest of contact between the wheels, and that's them both dropping down. Grinnen was to have issues later on as well, and you can see how much he was struggling with the car. We'll rewind this one back and hopefully get another look at this time from Grinnen's point of view. We'll look from above there, and down the inside. He's run it wide, I would say a little bit. It's just that Grinnen's carried a little bit too much speed into that left-hander, and that's cost both of them dearly.
Yeah, indeed. I think that Grinnen just locking it up a little bit there, but it just shows how much a race win meant to both of them. They were willing to risk everything on trying to get that move done and trying to defend that position. Everyone has come across the line now, so we'll look at your race results in race 2 of round 1 of season 11 of 60 plus racing adventures, and they have started this season with plenty of action. John Unsby on the final lap avoids the carnage, takes the race win. Bill Lawrence comes from 11th on the grid to get 2nd place and start his season off on a great note, and Kenneth Baldwin rounds out the podium. John Morgan gets 4th place. Jos van der Ven wanted the win, but in the end gets 5th place in race 2. Bob Kern has 6th. Greg Garris finishes 6th ahead of Paul Stump in 8th. And a little bit of a gap further back, Mark Robertson gets 9th, and David Riley finishes in 10th place.
Yeah, not that far behind him was Bruce Granheim, who ended up in 11th place. Started in 21st. Great result for Bruce there. Gianni Respaldo, 12th place with Leif Hellberg, 13th. He'll be disappointed with that after race 1 as well. Lewis Cannell in 14th ahead of Franz Brink. Good drive from him from the back of the grid into 15th. Ronald McManus, 16th place. Not that far behind with Jared Florison. Less than a second behind in 17th. Matt Lisson, the last car to finish on the lead lap. Manning Grinnen, well, we saw that instant. He was in the lead on that final lap. Ends up in 19th place. Richard Coulomb as well, a lap down in 20th place.
The remainder of your field here, Joel Martin finishes 2 laps down. Urs Muller 2 laps down as well. Ralph Kemmerer saw him in the wall in the late stages of the race, so he is 4 laps down, and then everyone else here, it's pretty well retirements for William Lee, Bruce Poole, Wally Molesby, Stephen Carkner, and Remigio De Pasqua. That is the 28 cars that took the start of this race, and that was full of drama. And to help us make sense of some of it, we have got some of the drivers who are going to come have a word with us. I think it's only fair we start with our race winner. John Unsby did not lead a lap of this race until that last one. What were you thinking when you saw those two, Grinnen and Van der Ven, come together in front of you?
Well, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I mean, not necessarily knock each other out, but that they would get together and slowly slow each other down and I could get by. That's exactly what happened. I guess that's about the only way I can win a race anymore is if misfortune happens to others.
But it does mean you've started off this season 11 with a very good start in round 1. You've got the points for the win, and that means you and Bill Lawrence are going to be on equal points going forward from here. You don't sound confident of being able to take the championship, but do you think you'll be able to stand on the top step of the podium again later rounds in this season?
Well, we had this conversation in the last season. I'm getting slower and everybody else is getting faster. I think it's the first race I won in about 2 seasons now. Bill is usually faster, and he was just a tiny bit in race 1. I blew the engine. I had a shot at that one. This race, I don't know what happened to Bill, but Manning drove a great race. I got to hand it to him. He came from behind and got by me when I got a little sideways, and he really should have deserved to win that thing, but I was right there, so I had a shot.
Well, I mean, it's great for us at RaceSpot to be once again bringing some coverage of 60-plus racing adventures. I mean, you've raced in this series quite a while. We've spoken before, but hopes, expectations for this new season. And race 1, 32 cars taking the start. Participation's looking very strong as well.
Well, this is a great series. I'm generally, in the top 5 or 6 as far as the final standings. Whether I can win it or not, it's pretty doubtful. 3 or 4 seasons ago, me and Bill were like 1 point apart going into the last race, but he ended up ahead, and that's as close as I've been. So I'm generally 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. I'd like to be a little higher this season. It's a good start.
It is indeed a perfect start. And while you're on RaceSpot, anyone you'd like to thank, any shout-outs, any messages you'd like to deliver?
Well, like always, Joel and Mark, who do a great job. John Morgan, who sets up the practice sessions for us. I think it's Richard Columbi, I'm not sure, who does the weekly wrap-ups. If it's not him, I'm sorry. It's whoever, want to thank whoever that is. And you guys for broadcasting us. You always do a great job. It makes it look like it's the real thing. And it's really good to have British announcers, because all the races have British announcers. And if we get some guy that's talking hillbilly or something, it just doesn't look right.
Well done on offending David Haynes right there, John.
No, I'm not offended. I am an Australian, and of course Paul Smith is English, but Lee Diffie commentates a lot of things in the US and makes it sound reasonably good. So if I'm half of what he is, I'll take it as a compliment.
Well, I apologize for that, but Americans can't tell the British accent from the Aussie accent unless you say something about the Barbie.
Yep, Struth, mate, congrats on the win, and we'll catch you around on RaceSpotTV. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks for covering us. I'm glad I finally got a win in this damn thing. Talk to you later.
Right, well, there we go, Paul. That was a good interview, and I like the attitude there from John Unsby, who's won race 2. And now we'll see if we can once again have a word with Bill Lawrence. 1st place in race 1, 2nd place in race 2. Paul, let's see.
Well, absolutely. Well, first of all, Bill, you started that 2nd race in 11th place. Not the ideal qualifying, but you surely must be happy with getting a lucky 2nd place in the end.
Yes, indeed. I hope you can hear me this time.
It's still a bit robotic, is the volume, but we'll manage by anyway. But yeah, talk us through that race, because that was a bit of a charge from yourself and getting second place at the end.
Yeah, sorry about the scratchiness, but it was a charge. I'm always a little poor in the second start, but once you get close, the guys up front are really racing for position, so there's always hope.
Absolutely. Well, you do. We'll keep it short and sweet because of the few technical problems that we're having here. But you finished this round joint leader of the championship. You must be happy with starting the championship this way.
Couldn't be happier. Thanks for your coverage, guys.
Well, thank you very much, Bill, and congratulations on the race win in race 1 and second place in race 2.
Thanks again.
David?
Yeah, indeed. I think we've got Kenneth Baldwin up there, the third place finisher. So we'll endeavour to have a word with him. Hello, is this Kenneth Baldwin? Hello, are you there, Ken? Paul, once again, we've got someone and not managing to hear anything out of them, unfortunately.
It's I think it's the curse of the RaceSpot server today, I think, is what we'll say here with this one. Yeah. Well, I mean, what we could do is look at wrapping this up, really, but I will say that second race really did deliver some fantastic action and a really intense battle at the front there. I really enjoyed watching that one. Unfortunate how it ended, to be fair, but this series, it will just go from strength to strength, and well, the series does carry on next week. Let's not forget, these drivers go on to Watkins Glen and run Atlanta, Phillip Island and the Nürburgring before we show them again on July the 17th at Suzuka International Circuit.
Yep, that's exactly correct. 12 rounds to this championship here on RaceSpot. We cover the opening round, that's this one, and then we will check in with them again at Suzuka for week 6, and then on August 28th we do bring the coverage of the finale, which is going to be at Road America. And thank everyone for tuning in for this one, and we hope to see you again soon. And once again, an awesome job here in 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Plenty of people here at RaceSpot that help us put our broadcasts together. Includes Istvan Beloff and TrackCams22.com, and plenty of other partners as well. Paul Smith today alongside me with the camera work and the production as well. I've been David Haynes. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon here at RaceSpot. Good night.